Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Scrapchat. It's been a while since I've done one of these Q&A videos, so I have a little list of questions to answer. I'm hoping to run through them fairly quickly. What I've been doing is, as people ask me questions on my YouTube channel, I've been either trying to respond right away, which is a lot easier now because YouTube or the iPad app for YouTube or something has changed so that it's easier for me to reply to comments on my devices now, so that's really great. And then what I do is, for those that I can't answer right away or that I need to show something, I just put them in a different folder and I collect them up, and then I will answer them on this. So some of these are ones that are from before, so they might have been easily answered by a reply, but I just didn't do that because I wasn't replying at that point. Anyhow, so the first question that I have is Elaine B, who asks about the metal tin with the handles that I keep my pocket page scraps in. She wanted to know where I got that and more information about it. So I'm going to go show you what I mean. I thought I pulled everything out, but I didn't pull this out. So she's talking about this thing here that I keep. So my Scraptastic, this Life Noted kit, and a couple of other things, they're all in here. That's what it looks like. And I have an empty one that's easier to show. So some of you may recognize this. It is a Prima container, so it has the Prima logo in it right there. And it was from Renaissance Silk Ferrari flowers. And these were flowers that came, it was lined in a black foam, and then the flowers were pinned in with little pins. And then it had a lid that just kind of plopped on top of it, and it had a window in it, and you could see all the flowers all laid out on the background, and the lid was attached with these clips, so it would kind of go on like that. I think I threw away the lids, but I kept the bottoms because I thought it would make a good tray for keeping odds and ends in, and so that's what this is. I don't know if Prima is still selling their flowers in that kind of a case anymore, but that's what that was all about. And I'm always on the lookout for good trays for my scrap room, so that's another tip, is to just kind of, anytime you get any kind of packaging that is sturdy and kind of sleek and kind of shallow-ish, it's a good idea to just always have it in the back of your head that that could be repurposed for scrapbooking trays. So thanks for your question, Elaine, and thanks for watching. And actually, you know what, Elaine? I don't use this one. So if you're watching this, look, it does, that's the other thing that I wanted to point out, is that magnets will stick to it. So I have used it like this before, I think. I used to kind of put it on my work surface and put little notes and stuff on it. That was a long time ago. So Elaine, if you want that, just send me a private message or an email with your address, and I'll just pop it in the mail for you. If you're in Canada or the United States. If you live overseas, it's probably going to cost way more for me to mail it than it's really worth. So it's very lightweight though, so it probably won't cost too much to mail it either, you know, within Canada or the United States. So there's that. And then I get a lot of questions about my printer. How do I print photos in the different sizes that I print? How do I print Instagrams and that sort of thing? I can't help you with your technical questions about printing, but what I use is my Epson PictureMate Charm, which is that printer right there. It's a little printer. It prints 4.5 by 6 onto 4.5 by 6 paper, and then I do have a tutorial on my blog. If you go to my blog, which will be linked in the information section for this video, there's a tutorial on there under info and resources, under that tab at the top of my blog, and one of the links on that page will be my tutorial on how to print using iPhoto. If you don't have a Mac and don't use iPhoto, I can't help you, but if you Googled or even did a YouTube search of how to print photos in different sizes using whatever software it is that you use, you'll probably get some other people who can help you with that. Kelly asked me if I was going to do another album flip, and yes I am. It's on my list of videos to make, so I'm hoping to get to that one soon. Thanks for watching. And then Jeannie GS had some questions about erasing on paper. So in one of my recent-ish videos, I was kind of doing my lines in pencil, and then I erased them, and I gave a couple of tips about how to erase lines so that you can't see them. And she wanted to know, does it matter the quality or the weight of the papers? And that's a good question, and I didn't know the answer to it. So she said that it seems to work well on the higher quality scrapbooking papers that I had, but she wanted to know if it would work on lower quality paper. So I have some of my kids' scrapbooking paper here, which is lower quality and thinner. And I'm just going to draw a light line. And so my tip was that if you draw a light line on your paper and then do your journaling, then you can go back and erase that line as long as you use a white eraser, because if you use a different kind of eraser than this, it can pull up the fibers in the paper, and then the paper that you've written on will be lighter than the paper that you than the rest of the paper, and you'll be able to see that you've written lines there and erased them. And then the other tip that I had was to just use the weight of the eraser to erase the line. So when I do this, I am not pressing at all. I'm just rubbing with the weight of the paper, of the eraser. And guess what? There's definitely a lighter pink line there. I'm not entirely sure that it will come out in this video, but there is. I can see with my eyes. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but with the eye, you can see where that was erased. So it does seem to matter, the quality of the paper. So you might want to do a little patch test. Turn the paper over on the back side, because even though it's a different pattern, it's still the same quality of paper, so you'll be able to do a little test and erase very carefully. It's more important that you go over, it's better to go over it lots of different times to get that pencil mark removed than it is to kind of rub really hard to get it removed quicker. So take your time when you're erasing. Then what's my next question? From Deborah Parker, she wants to know what I'm using for my wood veneers. She uses mini snack size baggies, which is a great idea, but she loves my tower, so I will show you what she's talking about. She's talking about this beautiful thing, which I love. I love, love, love keeping my wood veneers in this thing. What this is a whole bunch of these. They come in sets of 2 with 2 cases and 2 lids at Michael's, and they come, I think they come cellophane together like this. Can't quite remember. Can't remember what kind of packaging they come in, but they're from Michael's in the scrapbooking storage section. So over by where you get, in my Michael's anyways, it's over by where you get the Jetmax cubes or Recollections cubes, and also where they keep those little like totes with the handles, the little tool totes that you put your tools in and stuff like that. It comes 2 containers and 2 lids together, but when you stack them like this in one continuous tower, you only need 1 lid. And what I really like about it is that it takes up a very small footprint, so that is how much space it takes up on my shelf. And I can see through it, so I can easily see what assortment of shapes I have to work with. And it's cute, and they're pretty cheap. They're not very expensive. It's been so long since I've bought them that I really don't remember the price, but I wouldn't have bought this many of them if they were expensive, so they must be cheap. And they come in a couple of different sizes. That is the smallest size. I also have some of the medium size, and I put my larger wood veneers in those. So thanks for your question, Deborah. The next question is from Isadari Rivera, who might possibly have the coolest name ever. I don't know if that's a screen name or your real name, but that's awesome. So anyways, she says, I'm getting ready to order Stampin' Up! Inks and so she said that in my old video, I really liked Basic Gray when I was talking about my favorite Stampin' Up! Inks, and I will link a link to that video below. She's talking about my ink video. Where I talk about Basic Gray, but then in a more recent video I talked about Smoky Slate as being a good gray color too. They're both by Stampin' Up, and that's a really good question. So she wanted to know, do I still like Basic Gray, or has Smoky Slate replaced Basic Gray as my favorite gray? Good question. And you've probably already ordered your ink is a Dari, so I'm sorry that this is probably too late for you, but I did want to answer your question. So the two colors of ink that she's referring to are these ones right here. So this one is Basic Gray and this one is Smoky Slate. And they're very similar colors, but a little bit different. I will show you what they look like stamped out. So in that ink video, I created this and showed you guys how all my different colors, these are all my favorite colors. And this one right here is the Basic Gray. And so up above it, right here is, I just re-stamped it so that you could see it with the same shape. So this is the Basic Gray, and then this one is Smoky Slate. So I'm not entirely sure if my camera, if my little webcam is going to pick up. But this one, the Smoky Slate, is quite a bit lighter. It's a lot more of a, it's just lighter. It looks more silver and a little bit like a pill. It has a bit more blue in it than the other one. The other one is more of a neutral. They're both neutrals really though. It really doesn't look like that's showing up very well, so my apologies on that. But those two little cameras right there are the samples that I'm talking about. The lighter one is Smoky Slate and the darker one is Basic Gray. And I think that for the purpose that I was initially talking about these inks, if I had to choose one, I probably would choose Basic Gray because it is, I was talking about this Basic Gray as being a really good alternative to black, so it's still dark enough that you could easily read a sentiment and easily see all the lines on a detailed stamp, but it's not so harsh as black is, and so it just gives a bit of a softer look, or, you know, if you don't want so much contrast, or if you don't want, like, if there's no other black on your layout and you don't want it to stand out, it's a good choice. This other one is not as dark, so it's going to be not quite as good for stamping like sentiments and stuff. But it's a really nice ink, and it also looks really nice. It looks really worn, so when you stamp something in this, it's going to look a little bit older because it just looks like it's washed out. So it's not going to have as great a readability. So if I were picking one gray, I would pick this one, and if I were picking two grays, I would pick these two. Okay. So thanks for your question. Yes, right, there's a screenshot of this next one. This next question was long and I wanted to read it all. So let me find it. There it is. Okay, so it's from Mary Tran, and she says, and she's talking about my Scrap Room Sunday video where I talked about die cuts, chipboard, tags, and envelopes. So that was quite a while ago. So sorry, Mary, that it's taking me so long to get back to you. But she says, that was fun to watch how you store your die cuts. So fun to have a variety to choose from. No clue you could take apart the drawers. Oh yeah, right. You can take those drawers things apart. The gray thing there, that's all stacked up. That one right there. That's two sets of drawers that I just took the lid off and put two of them together. Anyways, watch my video and you'll see. I'll link that one too. She says, do you find yourself pulling from these die cuts when you project life? Would that help you use them up? Or do you prefer the This Life Nota kit only? I have a lot of die cuts from different collections, but instead of using them on layouts, I find myself using them on Project Life. I store mine in 3-section trays that stack on top of each other and sits on my desk, so it helps me see them and use them too. Thanks for sharing. Love your stash, and hugs. So thanks, Mary. I just wanted to read your question because I think that it had a lot of really good ideas that other people might benefit from, and I certainly did from your discussion there of how to use your die cuts for Project Life. I think you're right. I think I probably would be more likely to draw on them for a Project Life or pocket scrapbooking than I would be for layouts. I don't know why, they're just not on my mind. And so your idea of putting them in a tray is probably a really good one to keep you using it, right? So one of the things I mentioned in my video is that I store them in that thing, but I don't really use them all that much, and so maybe putting them out in a tray would help me to use them a little bit more. The other thing that, the other idea that I had was that maybe what I might do once a month, like when my kit first arrives, is go through those drawers and pull out any of those die cuts or pieces that are in those drawers that I might think I could use with that month's kit, and then they're out and they're amongst everything, and it's easier for me to refer to them and remember that I have them. So I don't know, but I think you've got a really good idea there, and I don't have a good answer. I don't know that I use them more on Project Life or layouts because I'm really not using them on either at this point, but you've given me some food for thought, so thank you for that, Mary. And then Ileana M73 had, and so did Dawn Westy. They both had really good ideas for me for my sassafras cards. So in my video, again the same video where I talk about the storage of die cuts and chipboard and tags, I talked about these sassafras cards, which I have and love and don't use because I'm hoarding them. They look like this, and they're really cute. All of the edges are rounded on them, and some of them I like more than others, but as a collection, I haven't wanted to give them up, even though I can't see myself using them on a layout at all. Like I'm really sure I won't use these. But I really love them and don't want to give them up. So Ileana said you could square off the corners and create a border for my wall or a poster in a frame with them collaged or in a grid, or I could use it as wall art, and that way I would get to enjoy them every day instead of having them kind of stored away in a pile like this in a place I don't look at very often. So that's a really good idea. And then Dawn Westy said, why not, I didn't write this very clearly, why not store your beloved SAS cards in a pocket page protector, accompanied by journaling about why you love them so much. That way they're preserved with a purpose. So that's a really good point too. So I need to think about what I'm going to do with these little guys and, you know, do something with them, because you're right. They shouldn't just sit there not being used. So the Sunny Smash has a couple of questions for me. The first one is, how do you store your sequins? And this, I think, was asked before I did my sequin video, so I'll link the sequin video, and maybe I'll figure out how to do that cool thing that other people do where they say, link it right there, and then it'll be embedded in the video. I don't know if I can do that. That's a little too high tech for me, but I'm going to try. So check out this video right here. Wink, wink. Because I don't know if it's going to be there. But this is how I store them, in these little jars. And the jars are from here in Canada. I get them at the dollar store, at the Dollarama. And they come in a package that looks like this, with six. 6 for $1. Isn't that awesome? I love me some dollar store. Okay. So thank you for the question, Sunny Smash. And then Keely Bowley. Oh, I might have written that down wrong or pronounced it wrong, so I'm sorry if I butchered your name. She asks, what was the name of the New York store I mentioned in my die cut storage video? And it was Muji, M-U-J-I. It's just a little, it's not a scrapbooking store, it's kind of like a trendy little stationery, clothing, toy organization type of store. It reminds me of IKEA, but it's like if IKEA were a stationery store, it would be that. And they've got, I bought like little tabs and I've got blocks from New York City that are like, they look like the buildings, and there's lots of storage and organizational tools there. So I will put the link to, they do have an online store, so I'll put the link to that store in the information section for this video if anybody's looking for that awesome store. And then Shan Jess asks, I'm giving paper and digital scrapbooking a go. As a newbie, do all the embellishments have to be acid free? Yikes. Okay, there's another loaded question. So it depends who you ask, really. I mean, technically, yes. If you want your layouts and projects to last forever, then yes, they should be acid free. I don't pay attention to whether or not it's acid free because I'm not really thinking long term. Maybe I should, but I don't. I'm just not that kind of a person. I don't spend a whole lot of energy thinking about what's going to happen to these layouts after I'm gone. I actually don't think much about what's going to happen to these layouts after I'm done doing my layout, really. I mean, I just kind of stuff them into a scrapbook and maybe someone will look at them, but it doesn't really matter because I really like creating the layout. I mean, it's really nice if people do look at it, but I really love creating them. And so So yeah, I think the answer to that question really does depend on who you ask. And when you ask me, I say no, it doesn't matter, as long as you're not really concerned about preserving it for generations to come. So if you're making your albums as something that you're passing down for your family history, then you will want it to be archival and acid-free, because that way it won't yellow and stain. Like sometimes if something is acid free and it touches something that isn't acid free, then it can stain the other thing. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know that there's something that you can get that I think it's like a marker that you mark on your paper and it'll tell you whether it's acid free or not. I don't know anything about it, so I could be totally wrong, but there is a way to test your paper and your products to see whether it's acid free. So you can probably Google that or look it up if that's important to you. Then the Sunny Smash has another question for you, which is, can you show your washi tape storage? And yes, I can, but I'm going to have to do a video on it because I can't in this kind of a format. But let me just show you here. It's right there. So it's right there. And I buy those things at Michael's, and I will definitely be making a video on that. That's going to be one of my upcoming scrap room storage videos will be about that. So hang tight for that. Not the next one. The next one is about Copic marker storage, but the one after that will probably be washi tape, because that's been on my list of videos to make ever since you asked that question. So it's coming up. So those are all the questions that I wrote down this time. I do have more in my queue, but that's all I'm going to get to today. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.